Ever feel like the world is changing faster than you can even keep up? Like you're barely hanging on?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well, you're not alone.
It's a wild ride.
It really is.
Yeah.
And today,
It's accelerating.
yeah, it is accelerating.
That's the thing.
Today we're diving into some fascinating stuff. A YouTube transcript about Davos 2025,
Ooh.
where the global elite gather every year to talk about the future.
Right. And this year, I felt like even they were struggling to keep up with the pace of change.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what makes it so fascinating to sort of analyze, because when the elite get anxious,
Right.
it usually means that we should all be paying attention.
Exactly. Their anxieties often foreshadow the challenges that will soon trickle down to the rest of us.
Exactly. So let's unpack what went down at Davos 2025.
Yeah.
First off, there was a noticeable shift in the overall mood just a year ago. The theme was rebuilding trust.
Hmm.
This year, collaboration in the intelligent age.
Interesting.
Kind of a jump, right?
Yeah. It suggests a move from rebuilding a fractured system to preparing for an entirely new one. The WEF seems to be grappling with a world where their traditional levers of power are becoming less effective.
Yeah, you can practically hear the nervous chatter in the hallways about things like economic nationalism and the rise of decentralized technologies.
For sure.
And speaking of which, after 50 years, Klaus Schwab decided to step down from the WEF.
Hmm.
I mean, was this a planned exit or a sign that his vision of globalism is starting to crumble?
It's hard to say for sure, but his departure definitely adds to the sense that we're entering a new era. I mean, remember, this guy who's been at the center of global power for decades.
Right.
Now he's stepping aside just as things are getting really interesting.
Yeah, speaking of interesting, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Donald Trump's return to the world stage. His inauguration was literally on day one of Davos.
Oh, wow.
And he didn't waste any time making waves, especially when it came to ESG investing.
Right.
He actually called out Bank of America CEO Brian Moynihan right to his face about it.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, for our listener who might not be familiar with ESG, it stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance.
Right.
Essentially, it's a set of criteria that companies are increasingly being pressured to meet, covering everything from climate change to diversity to political lobbying.
Right. It's become very controversial.
It's extremely controversial.
Yeah.
And Trump basically accused Moynihan of using ESG as a weapon to deny banking services to companies that don't align with the WEF's agenda.
Wow. So Moynihan, of course, pushed back, defending ESG as a necessary framework for responsible investing.
Right.
The whole exchange really highlighted this growing global tension between two competing visions of the future.
Right.
On one hand, you have this push for global cooperation and top-down control through things like ESG.
Right.
And on the other, you have this resurgence of economic nationalism and a focus on individual freedom.
Right. And it wasn't just Trump. The Nigerian vice president also had some pretty pointed words for the WEF. He basically accused them of being out of touch with the problems of the global south, more concerned with pushing their own agenda than addressing real-world issues.
Interesting. So we're seeing a growing backlash against this idea of a one-size-fits-all globalist approach.
It seems like it.
More and more countries are starting to assert their own economic and political interests.
Yeah, so while Trump was busy promoting his vision of America as the AI and crypto capital of the world, Europe seemed to be clinging to the old ways. Some of the things their leaders were saying about controlling citizen savings and restricting free speech were, I don't know,
Yeah.
kind of chilling.
It almost felt like they were channeling Orwell's 1984. You had Christine Lagarde, the president of the European Central Bank, practically begging Europeans to keep their money in the EU.
Yeah, and Ursula von der Leyen, the EU president, echoed that sentiment, talking about the importance of keeping savings at home.
Right. Then you had Pedro Sanchez, the Prime Minister of Spain, talking about eliminating online anonymity and tightening control over social media. It paints a pretty stark picture of where Europe might be headed.
So this Digital Services Act they keep talking about,
Yeah.
is that basically their attempt to control the internet?
Essentially, yes. It's a sweeping set of regulations that give them broad powers to censor online content and force social media platforms to comply with their demands.
Wow, it seems like they're terrified of losing control of their economies, of information, of the narrative itself.
I think they're facing a perfect storm of challenges, from economic stagnation to rising populism to the growing realization that their top-down approach just isn't working anymore.
Yeah.
And their response seems to be to double down on control, which, as we know, can be a very slippery slope.
And then there's the whole crypto thing. They seem to have this love-hate relationship with it, wary of decentralized finance, but embracing tokenization.
Right.
It's like they want to have their cake and eat it too.
What's fascinating is that they seem to understand that crypto is too big to fail,
Right.
but they can't seem to accept that crypto has value. They want to control it, to digitize everything and put it on a blockchain,
Right.
but they want it on their terms.
You have this clash of ideologies, the U.S. pushing for innovation and individual empowerment while Europe is trying to hold on to control through regulation and restrictions. It's a fascinating and kind of terrifying glimpse into the future of global power dynamics. Where do you think this is all heading?
That's a million-dollar question. And to really answer it, we need to look beyond Europe and the U.S. and consider the role of other major players like China, India, and Russia. Each of them is approaching this new world order, especially the AI revolution, with their own unique set of goals and strategies.
It's like we're watching the tectonic plates of global power shifting right before our eyes. The old world order is crumbling and a new one is emerging, powered by AI. But what will this new world look like? Who will be the winners and losers? And where do WE fit into all this?
Those are the questions that keep me up at night, because the truth is the AI revolution isn't just some abstract technological advancement. It's a fundamental reshaping of the power dynamics that govern our world.
Okay, I'm all ears. Break it down for me. How is AI changing the game?
Well, on one hand, you have this push towards centralized AI, systems controlled by governments and corporations. Think of China's social credit system.
Right.
Or Europe's attempts to regulate AI finance. It's all about using AI to maintain control, to predict and manage citizen behavior, to enforce compliance.
So AI is a tool for surveillance and social engineering.
Right.
It's a little bit Black Mirror-ish, isn't it?
It's definitely a slippery slope. But on the other hand, you have this incredible potential for decentralized AI systems powered by individuals and networks where control is distributed rather than concentrated.
So like a grassroots AI movement, what would that even look like?
Think of open source AI projects where developers from all over the world are collaborating to create powerful AI tools that anyone can use. Or AI-driven peer-to-peer economies where people can trade skills and services directly without the need for centralized platforms.
So AI could actually be a tool for democratizing power, for giving individuals more control over their lives and livelihoods.
Exactly. It's like a digital David versus Goliath scenario.
I like that.
The establishment might have the money and the infrastructure,
Right.
but individuals have something they don't.
Oh.
Numbers, creativity, and adaptability.
Okay, so it's a battle for the future of AI.
Yeah.
Will it become a tool for liberation, or will it be used to further concentrate power in the hands of the few?
That's the existential question of our time. And to understand how it might play out, we need to look at the specific strategies being employed by the major players in this AI arms race.
Okay, let's do that. Who are the key players and what are they up to?
Well, we've already talked about the U.S. and Europe. The U.S. is betting big on innovation and deregulation, hoping to attract the best AI talent and become the global leader in AI development.
And Trump's whole make America the AI capital of the world thing, is that just bluster or is there real substance behind it?
I think there's a genuine belief in the U.S. that AI is the key to maintaining global dominance, both economically and militarily.
What about China? They've been pouring massive resources into AI research and development.
China's approach is very different. They're less interested in individual empowerment and more focused on using AI to strengthen the state and maintain social control.
Yeah, that whole social credit system is pretty dystopian. It's like something straight out of a science fiction novel.
It's a chilling example of how AI can be used for surveillance and social engineering.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where your every move is tracked, analyzed, and scored by an algorithm, where your access to opportunities and resources is determined by your social credit score.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's a stark reminder that technology is a double-edged sword. It can be used for good or for evil.
Right.
It all depends on who's wielding it and for what purpose.
Exactly, which is why it's so important to have these conversations, to understand the potential risks and benefits of AI and to make informed choices about how we develop and use this technology.
I agree.
Okay, so we've got the U.S. focused on innovation and global dominance.
Right.
We've got China using AI for state control and social engineering. Where does India fit into all of this?
India is an interesting case. They have the potential to become a major player in the AI space. They have a young, tech-savvy population, and they're making significant investments in AI education and research.
So they could be a wild card in this AI arms race.
Absolutely, they could choose to align with the U.S. and embrace a more decentralized approach to AI development,
Yeah.
or they could follow China's lead and build a more controlled AI ecosystem.
And what about Russia? They've been pretty quiet on the AI front, haven't they?
Russia's taking a more pragmatic approach faced with Western sanctions and economic isolation. They're looking to AI to boost domestic industries and counter Western influence. You
Yeah.
could say they're using AI as a tool for economic survival.
So they're playing catch up, but they're determined to be a force to be reckoned with.
Exactly. And they're not afraid to use AI in unconventional ways. Think of their use of AI-powered disinformation campaigns to sow discord in Western democracies.
So this is all pretty heady stuff. We've got these global superpowers vying for AI dominance, each with their own agenda and strategy. But what does it mean for the average person? How is all of this going to impact our lives?
That's the crucial question we need to ask ourselves, because the truth is, the AI revolution will touch every aspect of our lives, from the way we work to the way we interact with the world around us.
Right.
It's not just about geopolitics and global power dynamics. It's about how we live, learn, and connect as human beings.
So as an individual, how do I navigate this rapidly changing world? How do I avoid becoming a pawn in someone else's game?
That's where things get really interesting.
It feels like we're standing at a crossroads. Like on one path, we have this centralized AI future where our lives are increasingly managed and monitored by algorithms controlled by, governments and corporations. And on the other path, we have this possibility of a more decentralized AI future where individuals have more control, more freedom, and more opportunities to, shape their own destinies.
And the choice between those paths, while it might feel inevitable, it's not predetermined. It's being made right now by the decisions we make, the tools we use, the communities we join.
So how do we choose the right path? What can we as individuals actually do to tip the scales towards a more human-centered AI future?
Well, first, we need to reject this idea that the future is inevitable. The establishment wants you to believe that their centralized AI systems are the only game in town, that resistance is futile, but that's simply not true.
So how do we break free from this narrative of inevitability?
By embracing the power of decentralized AI, by supporting projects that promote individual sovereignty, and by connecting with others who are building alternative systems.
So can you give me some concrete examples? Like what are some things that people can do right now to start building this AI-powered future?
Absolutely. One practical step is to start learning about and using AI tools in your daily life. There are incredible open source AI models available that can help you automate tasks, analyze data, and even generate creative content.
So it's like taking control of AI before it takes control of you.
Precisely, think of it as a form of digital self-defense. The more you understand about AI, the less likely you are to be manipulated by it, and the more you can use it to your advantage, the less reliant you'll be on the systems that seek to control you.
But what about the financial side of things? We've talked about how AI is reshaping global finance, but how can individuals participate in this shift without getting crushed by the big players?
That's where decentralized finance, or DeFi, comes in. DeFi platforms allow you to access financial services like lending, borrowing, and investing without going through traditional banks or institutions. They're powered by blockchain technology and smart contracts, which means they're transparent, secure, and accessible to anyone with an internet connection.
So in a way, DeFi is like a financial escape hatch from the traditional system.
That's a good way to put it. And because it's decentralized, it's much harder for governments or corporations to control or censor.
This is starting to sound like a real alternative, but isn't crypto volatile? I mean, I've heard stories about people losing their life savings in crypto crashes.
Volatility is definitely a factor in the crypto space. But AI can help mitigate those risks by providing better data analysis, predictive modeling, and automated trading strategies.
So AI can actually make crypto investing safer.
It can certainly help.
Right.
Of course, it's crucial to do your research, understand the risks, and never invest more than you can afford to lose. But AI can give you a significant edge in navigating the complexities of the crypto market.
This all sounds incredibly promising, but I can't help but wonder, is it really possible for the 95% to win this AI war? I mean, the establishment has so much power, money, and influence.
It won't be easy, that's for sure. But the establishment's power is ultimately based on control. And AI is inherently a decentralizing force. The more people use AI to empower themselves, the less control the establishment will have.
So it's a battle for the very soul of AI. Will it become a tool for liberation or oppression?
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to be engaged, to be informed, and to support initiatives that promote ethical AI development. The future of AI is not predetermined. It's being shaped right now by the choices we make.
So this is a call to action, a wake-up call.
Absolutely. We need to be awake, aware, and active. We need to educate ourselves, experiment with new technologies, and connect with others who share our vision for a more decentralized and human-centered future.
Wow, you've given us a lot to think about. So to wrap things up, what's the single most important takeaway for our listeners today?
The AI revolution is not just about technology. It's about freedom. It's about reclaiming our agency, our sovereignty, and our power to shape the future.
That's a powerful message. Thank you for sharing your insights with us today.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Davos 2025 and the AI revolution. Remember, the future is not set in stone. The choices we make today will determine what kind of world we create tomorrow. So go out there, experiment, learn, connect, and build the world you want to see.